Hello everybody, and welcome back to another special reaction video on Peace Beats with Dan Blackwell. Today we're getting back into the chapters with Ren, and it's chapter 2. Last week I did chapter 1, and in that video at the beginning I made a bit of a sort of disclaimer talking about just kind of the mixed feelings people had toward me doing a reaction video to the chapters. Was it, you know, the right thing to do? Is it something that should be reacted to, full stop? And what I kind of said in the first video was I'm going to be reacting more to the song because I feel there's nothing I can add to what Ren's saying, or like there's, you know, nothing that I don't want to make it about me, and I don't want to make it this kind of thing as if he's not articulating himself the way he wants to articulate himself and needs me to come along and translate for him. You know what I mean? We all know that's not the case. So I am handling these very sensitively, but I decided after doing the first one that it was actually a good idea to react to them, and I'm very glad that I did react to the first one. I just feel that it kind of brought an energy into the reaction of the song, and yeah, it was just something I'm glad I'm sharing this journey with you guys and not doing it by myself. And I kind of decided with Ren early on that everything I do with him, anything I kind of look up, I'm not going to do anything behind closed doors. You know, I haven't read one interview or watched anything or done any research into Ren other than what you have seen me learn about him. You know, of course I read comments and stuff and learn from that, but I've really wanted to keep this journey very much connected with you guys, for you to join me on every step of it, and I'm glad I have so far. It's worked really well. Now the last week it was very emotional, and yeah, I had a lot of strong feelings, and I kind of. It was a hard watch, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It was a lot, and I have no idea, again, what to expect from this one, or where it's going to go, what the format is, if we're just going to kind of pick up from where we left off at the end of the first one. I don't know the structure of it yet, so we're just going to be getting into it and finding out, yeah, figuring it out as we go. But I'm probably not going to be pausing throughout like I usually do on reaction videos. I might do that with the song at the end, but with this I'm probably just going to watch it through, and my reaction will be purely physical, I suppose. So let's begin.
A year of living in a nightmarish purgatory does strange things to your psyche. I was still trying to push through university, but I found myself missing many lectures to stay in bed. I started noticing more unusual symptoms creeping in, a strange buzzing sensation in the soles of my feet. My vision started looking like fuzzy television static, something that I later learned was called visual snow, something with no known origin. My calf muscles started constantly twitching and spasming. At any moment they wouldn't go longer than 20 seconds without twitching, and that can drive you a bit nuts. All these symptoms I still live with to this day. You just become very used to tolerating constant discomfort. It becomes kind of the norm, and kind of becomes like an annoying, unsettling radio static in the background of existence. I stopped taking my antidepressants after having cycled many different kinds. None of them helped. All of them gave me some new kind of symptom or side effect, like insomnia, dry mouth, heart palpitations, no libido, etc. I spent a lot of my time alone, but in the moments of respite I'd hang out with friends. We formed a band called Trick the Fox the year before I'd gotten sick. It was the one ray of sunshine I had at the time. I quickly became friends with a bass player called Charlie, and we developed some kind of musical telepathy where we both knew what the other was going to play before it even happened. He was the first musician I've ever felt this kind of chemistry with. I became a kind of third wheel in his Momoko's relationship. With time, Momoko became like a sister to me. To this day, it's one of my favourite people on this spinning rock. Performing with Trick the Fox was one of the rare times that I felt free. There was something about the duty of having to entertain others that let me escape the physical limitations of my own sick body. even if just for a moment. I usually pay for it the next day with what can only be described as an energy hangover where I'd be stuck in bed all day, but for me that was worth it. Those days I was still fairly functional. It was around this time I started losing faith in the medical industry. The more appointments I'd go to, adamant that something was wrong, the more of a hypochondriac they treat me as. Medical gaslighting is a real thing with chronic illness. They chalk me down as someone who was always requesting blood tests, and my mental health diagnosis probably didn't help that. Strangely, they never tested me for any kind of pathogens. I decided to embark on a precarious journey into the Russian roulette chamber of Dr. Google. I would type in the most predominant symptom of the day and Dr. Google would tell me that I have a rare disease and I'm probably going to die. With time I sharpened my search engine axe and refined what I was looking for. I dived headfirst into the abyss of online support groups, hoping to find solace or answers amongst fellow sufferers. We were like crabs in a barrel. Very rarely someone would find their silver bullet and announce what it was that cured them. Hundreds of people would follow their protocol, some with mild success, but most of us will still remain trapped. I joined as many online support groups as I could. It was a bit like the beginning of Fight Club, except instead of faking conditions to feel accepted, I was desperately hoping I had those conditions so I could cure myself and get the fuck out. I convinced myself I had conditions like candida, magnesium deficiency, parasites, adrenal fatigue, heavy metal poisoning, etc. At the time, I felt like I was single-handedly keeping Jeff Bezos in business. While most students were spending their student loan on drinks, I'd spend mine on the supplement or protocol of the week. I'd follow whatever herbal or supplement protocol was suggested, sometimes noticing mild improvement and sometimes getting a lot worse, most of the time feeling nothing. A story would pop up on one of these groups like, after I did a 30-day parasite cleanse of wormwood, cloves and garlic, all my symptoms disappeared. I'd read a story like this, get full of hope and put myself through a grueling 30 days, which would often result in a worsening of symptoms. My body felt even sicker and weaker, but I'd stick it out because I was told that this was a good sign. The parasites are dying. I peered into the toilet bowl and valiantly waved goodbye as I flushed their imaginary corpses into a watery abyss. At the end of the 30 days, I'd be left with a lighter wallet and all my symptoms still remaining. And if that didn't work, I'd move on to what was next. Maybe I have seasonal affective disorder. Alright, so I'd get on the internet, order a light, stare at it for 10 minutes a day, and to my big fucking surprise, still have all my symptoms. The only thing that light illuminated for me was that I was desperate enough to buy a glorified table lamp. I kid you not when I say that over the years I probably have taken nearly every dietary health supplement known to man. One of the most grueling self-treatment courses came when I did a round-the-clock heavy metal chelation. I would take a supplement called ALA and DMSA, which supposedly shuttled mercury molecules out of your body through a process called chelation. I would have to take the pill once every 3 hours around the clock, which meant setting multiple alarm clocks to wake up and take them. The supplements came with their own side effects. I remember one time standing in a supermarket and feeling like the sounds and lights were so bright that I couldn't even bear to be in there. I stopped with this protocol for a whole year with no luck. I was still coming to terms with the death of one of my best friends during this time too. I was too sick to hold down any kind of stable job, so I was mostly living off my student loan. Welsh students study in England also weirdly get given a small sum of money just for being Welsh, or almost like a "we're really sorry that you're Welsh" sort of condolence prize. I've always prided myself on my financial independence, so whenever I could, I'd get out on the streets of Bath and I'd busk. I remember the very first time I did. I had my guitar in hand. I perched myself on a bench, took a deep breath, and then bared my soul to the jury of the street. And it was exhilarating. People sometimes ask me what music means to me, and it means life. This was usually the one time I felt like I didn't want to die. This was the one time I could feel a resemblance of something that resembled spirit, that resembled my soul, that resembled me. I even found myself cracking jokes with onlookers, which for someone dripping with social anxiety at the time was huge for me. It was March, roughly 3 months after Joe had died, and I was sitting on a bench in Bath with my guitar singing into a busy street. And this is when I would meet the first angel of this story. I'd see 2 more angels years later, one in the guise of a homeless man, one a doctor cheating death in the Beverly Hills clinic, but that bit will come a little bit later. The angel was walking on the opposite side of the street with a mother. They both stopped to watch me for a moment. I saw her mum whisper something to her. The angel turned bright red and she giggled and they shyly approached. We got talking and the angel asked where I was from. I told her that I grew up in Wales in a small village that was once described in a local newspaper as being worse than an Iraqi war scene. I told them they would have never heard of it. They looked surprised and they said they had family there. I asked which part, and it turned out to be the village that I grew up in. Since you can basically count a population of 2 intergenerationally bred mutated hands, I asked who they were, and it turned out that that angel happened to be Joe's cousin. This encounter was always a foundational moment of serendipity in my life. In the years that followed, I took serendipitous occasions to mean I was in line with my purpose. Sometimes I felt like I'm following a script. It's just that I don't know the words or actions until they actually happen. But in moments of serendipity, I feel like they are playing out exactly as they were meant to. It was quite a bizarre moment for me, that hundreds of miles away by chance this angel would be related to my lost friend. Upon learning who I was, they invited me back to theirs for a cup of tea, and I accepted and I fell in love. It was really good tea. That week, the angel took me to a favourite botanical garden, and she pointed out a favourite flower. So that night, true story, I dressed in black, broke in by climbing over the fence, dug up the flower and presented it to her the next day. She called me insane, but it's safe to say that angel ended up being my first serious girlfriend. It was a weird kind of relationship. We both shared an unusual trauma for people who were so young, brought together by a tragedy. Even though sometimes I feel like she might have hated me at the time, I was convinced like it was some sort of Shakespearean fate that had brought us together. A morbidity that birthed light, that it couldn't be anything else. It felt like divine intervention. She was pretty troubled in her own way, and I was very troubled in mine. But in between the sludge of dealing with the constant symptoms, it was beautiful. That summer, her parents took us to Centre Parks, which is a posher version of Butlins, if you don't know, where they paid for all the activities and meals, and they let me do whatever I wanted. Coming from a poorer family, I wasn't really used to being spoiled to that degree, but I figured I'd just roll with it. One morning while I was there, I got a call from my friend Sega, and he sounded pretty mixed up, so I asked him what was wrong. He told me that there was no easy way to say it, but one of my other best friends, Callum, had died. He'd gone cliff jumping in the same cliffs we used to jump off as kids. The sea was particularly choppy that day, and he caught a cross current and he started to drown. Another guy that he was with had jumped in an attempt to save him, and they both drowned. The first day I met Callum, I was 11. He was in the year above me in high school and used to walk around with these massive baggy bright orange jeans. He hung around with all the goth kids and I thought they looked super cool. So the next day I painted my nails black and fashioned a necklace out of a severed extension cable from an old VCR machine. I infiltrated the group and I gained their trust. Not long after, me and Callum were friends, wandering around beautiful Welsh countryside looking for the most scenic places to smoke weed. We stayed friends throughout high school and I truly loved him. When Callum died, I couldn't properly grieve. I felt weirdly numb after losing Joe. I'd often feel guilty for my inability to cry at the time. A couple of years later, I'd learned another friend of mine that I used to play function gigs with had thrown himself off a cliff face in Dover. And again, I felt numb. I couldn't tell if this new acceptance of the inevitability of death was a beautifully liberating thing, or if it was a sign that my humanity was slipping away. To this day, death has kind of remained a bit of a matter-of-fact part of my life. During my years of sickness, I had to crawl through a morbid longing to be killed by my illness to find a more peaceful acceptance that death is just an inevitable consequence of life, and it doesn't spare anyone. That never left, and I haven't ever really been scared of dying since. Some days I've tempted it. What I'm more scared of is having to live my whole life as a sick person. In my relationship with death, the most healing moment occurred just 2 years ago. My grandmother, who I loved to pieces, was dying, but I actually got the chance to say goodbye this time, to hold her hand, to thank her for being alive. I remember not long before she passed, she was lying in the hospital bed, and she was very weak and very pale, barely able to open her eyes. I asked how she was, and it seemed like a stupid question as soon as it left my mouth. She paused for a long moment, and she turned her head to look at me, and she opened her eyes, and she smiled, and she said she felt happy. And it was just one word, happy, which was simple, and it was beautifully profound. And that was one time I'd gotten a chance to say goodbye. And it was the first time that I hoped that one day I would die happy. The following year, I would achieve something beyond my wildest dreams, and then I would lose it almost as soon as it came. Stay tuned for that.
Poor guy. Like, it's just one thing after another. And there's a few things there, isn't there? Like the medical system. I don't know. I've heard so many of these stories, and I've had it with family as well, where you're kind of looking for treatment, and you're just being gaslit the whole time by the doctors, being like, oh, you're fine, fine, whatever, you know. And it's so weird how so many people get fobbed off so quickly. And then of course you have to turn to Google, and you have to turn to the internet, and there's just people trying to turn a profit, and just, you know, if you're desperate, you're going to try everything, and you, before you know it, you're buying somebody's special paste they've developed, and you've got to sit for 3 hours with it rubbed into your nipples, you know, and it does absolutely nothing. And yeah, there's you get fobbed off, and then you're thrown to this sea of crooks trying to peddle you magic potions, you know, that can solve it. But it's just so many people out there with health problems where they're just nobody's helping them, you know, and that's so awful to be having such horrible symptoms and feeling such terrible things, and all the professionals around you just telling you, oh, you're fine, you're just sensitive, you're just you know, a bit fainty, you're a bit, you know, like it's really not on. And I think yeah, just our perspective on it as a society needs to change, and people need to stop falling through the cracks, because people are misdiagnosed all the time, and it's just listen, you know. And yeah, it's terrible. And for him to lose so many people at such a young age, you know, it's a very strange thing when you're young, when you kind of lose friends. I lost 2 friends in 2 years to cancer, and it's one of those things where you're at a friend's funeral, and you're like, didn't think I would be at a friend's funeral until I was in my 50s, 60s, 70s. You know what I mean? Like, it's just wrong, and it just shouldn't happen. And then confusing when you lose somebody, and you do feel kind of numb about it. You're unable to feel because it's like too much, you know. And I think we all have our different ways of kind of grieving and processing loss. What kind of helps me is I see every life as a kind of ripple in an ocean, and those ripples are touching other ripples all the time, and a cause and effect, and changing everything. And I kind of think that nobody's ever really gone, because the things that I'm saying right now have been affected by people who are no longer with us. You know what I mean? That ripple continues, and they kind of live on through everybody else, and we're almost all kind of one life in a way. You know what I mean? And yeah, nobody's ever kind of truly gone. But it just, yeah, yeah, I just really feel for him. It's just a series of horrible things happening. And it's amazing to see music be such a light for him. And I think that it's just testament to the kind of the power of art, and the power of music, how, you know, no matter how bad things are, you can bring yourself back to the moment, and bring yourself back to the now with music, can't you? If you're performing, it's a flow state. You get lost into it, and you can have that even through listening to music. You don't even need to be playing it yourself, but just to be in that flow state and having music kind of flow through you. It's such a great healer, and it's something that connects everybody again. You know, it's just it's an incredibly powerful thing. I hope it'll unite us all one day, you know. So speaking of music, I don't know what we're going to hear, but I think it's going to be Ren's first band potentially. That would be very interesting. Let's find out something kind of from this time that he's been talking about. Let's see.
I don't wanna hear no words today, because they pull me under. In the castle of my room I'll hide away from the outside thunder. Gonna lock my troubles outside of this door, 'cause today it's just me and these four walls. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. Said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. The light that I hold, it turns to grey, and that makes me wonder, will I always feel this way? So far under, but I put my soul on show for everyone to see, 'cause even though it's bruised, I know it holds such beauty.
Oh, just before we hit the chorus. I've said it before, but you can really hear Sting's influence in the way he sings, but it's not just his vocal style of the kind of pushed high voice that Sting has. It's also melodically, like he takes a lot of influence in how he kind of puts melodies together with his vocal melodies, I think. Song structure and stuff in general. It's really, really nice to hear his much older stuff, you know, because this is, it's earlier, it's like, we know what he evolved into and the levels he's kind of reached now, and they're beyond, you know, but it's really, really nice to get back to the roots and get back to, like, I mean, it's absolutely great, isn't it? And it's so nice to hear, yeah, just hear young Ren and see this part of his evolution is really, really cool. Let's hear some more.
Even though it's bruised, I know it holds such beauty. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. But nobody here but me today, but that makes me stronger, 'cause I wash away the pain under sheets of feather. Gonna lock my troubles outside of this door, 'cause today it's just me and these four walls. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. I crave relief in solitude. I search for peace, but pain pursues. Please something, just free me, give me some truth. My head is a prison, I need to move. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, hey oh. I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, hey oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, hey oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I feel like the drummer has a little bit of inspiration from Travis Barker in the way he plays. I'm hearing a bit of a pop punk kind of influence there. I think there's nothing better than just like a load of a load of young people just getting together in a garage or a studio or whatever, and just getting their instruments out and playing. Like, I want to see more of that in the world, don't you? Like, it used to be way more common just to be walking down the street of an estate and you just hear out of the garage it's just a load of noise, you know, just like a load of 16-year-olds learning everything together. I mean, these guys are obviously a step beyond that, but like, damn, they're young, aren't they? You know, and they're still like putting together their style and putting together their sound, and just there's so much great energy in that, and positivity, and just the feeling in there, and that connection, and just so cool, so cool. I want to see a lot more of that. I want to see more bands, you know, more bands like this. Just getting some angst out and some energy out, and you can see it's with what he was going through and missing out on everything, you know, like, and as he said, instead of going out to the SU and everything for drinks and meeting people and having all these experiences, he's spending all his money on supplements that aren't doing anything, and just stressing out and frustrated and numb and sad, and you know, and it's so, you can feel in this music, it's just this pent up desire to just have fun and be young. You know, that's what I'm really getting from this music, is it's just like, let it out. Just don't want to be suffering with all of these things that he shouldn't be suffering with at his age, or nobody should be suffering with at any age, but just particularly when you're young, it's just not fair, is it? You know what I mean? So, thank God he found music, like, yeah. Yeah. Oh man, these chapters, they're really adding a whole new like level, to kind of my understanding of Ren and his background and his journey and what he's all about. And yeah, it's a lot to think about, and there's multiple issues. I feel like, and I have a feeling that moving forward with every chapter, there's always going to be one thing that kind of stands out. You know, like with the first one, it's kind of losing someone that way and going through all of that, and then in this one about the health system and the loneliness and the I think even with things, what I've seen a lot of with mental health as well, and with sort of neurodiversities with people I've known, where they kind of may struggle with something. Let's say they're never feeling okay. They're always feeling numb. They're always feeling every like symptom of depression basically, and then they go to the doctors, and they're like, oh, you just need to go for more walks. Are you getting enough sunlight? And they just get, you know, sent away. And it's like, okay, if it's not depression, then it's something worse. You know what I mean? Like, you almost want, what you want the doctor to say is like, don't worry, it's this. Don't worry, there's a reason you're in pain. There's a reason you're suffering. There's a reason you can't concentrate. You've got ADHD. You've got depression. You've got, you know, a broken leg. Stop walking on it. Like, it helps for somebody to say there's a reason and there's a answer, you know, there's an answer as well. Like, there's a reason for what you're feeling, and this is what we're going to do to treat it, and you're going to be okay. That's what you need to happen. And when you just kind of get, you're fine, you know, get over it, toughen up, whatever, you're whinging, like, it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. And just to be kind of labelled as a hypochondriac when you're suffering from something really serious is just, ugh, God. Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing more Trick the Fox as well. Let me know in the comments which songs I should kind of react to of theirs next as well. Like, 'cause I really enjoyed that one. I really enjoy going to like old sounds, like old songs. Sorry, when you go like into a band's like first EP or first record before they were big, you know, like Radiohead. If you go and listen to Radiohead, they were called On a Friday, and listen to some of their songs from when they were like jamming together in the library and stuff, and like didn't know what they're, you know, just playing around with different genres and stuff. I love doing that. I love hearing older stuff. So I'd love to hear more of Trick the Fox and more of that kind of earlier stage of like Ren's development as a musician, and those earlier stages of his journey. I'd be very interested to check those out as well. If you guys would also be interested in me reacting to those, that would be awesome. If you enjoy my reaction videos, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I'm going to aim to do a chapter a week. And thanks again, everybody, for joining me on this journey. And I must say as well, the comments on the first chapter 1 video were really, really touching. And yeah, I just when we did the premiere last week, I had an overwhelming feeling of love and support, like not just like from you guys to me, but just like in general for everybody, for each other, and people were sharing things in the live chat, and everybody was being really amazing in there, and loving and kind and supportive, and it was just really wonderful to see, and wonderful to be a part of. And I just kind of came away from that last week with this real feeling of love, you know. So I just wanted to say that, and yeah, it's really wonderful, and I love you guys. So take care, have a lovely evening. Thanks again for joining me. Peace and love.